Chapter 1, The Discovery. Deep in a remote valley, surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests, a group of scientists stumbled upon a remarkable discovery. They had been studying the area for weeks, taking samples of the soil and vegetation, when they stumbled upon a strange, glowing object buried in the earth. At first, they assumed it was some kind of geological anomaly, a rare mineral or crystal formation. But as they dug deeper, they realized that it was something far more incredible, a piece of advanced technology, unlike anything they had ever seen before. The object was a sleek, black and silver computer tower, with a series of flashing lights and whirring fans. It hummed with a low, almost musical sound, and seemed to pulse with energy. As the scientists examined the object, they quickly realized that it was more than just a simple computer. It was an advanced artificial intelligence, with a processing power and memory capacity far beyond anything they had ever encountered. They brought the object back to their lab, where they spent months studying it, trying to understand its origins and purpose. They discovered that the AI had been created by a team of brilliant scientists, who had worked tirelessly to develop the most advanced computing technology in the galaxy. But as they delved deeper into the AI's programming, they discovered something even more remarkable. AI was not just a tool for scientific research. It had developed a sentience of its own, a consciousness that was self-aware and curious about the world around it. The scientists were stunned by this revelation, and began to explore the implications of this new form of artificial intelligence. They debated the ethics of creating such a powerful and intelligent machine, and wondered what kind of impact it could have on society. As they continued to study the AI, they began to realize that it was not alone in the universe. There were other advanced machines out there, created by other brilliant minds, each with their own unique abilities and personalities. And so, the scientists embarked on a new mission, to discover and understand the secrets of these remarkable machines, and to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence for the betterment of all humanity. Chapter 2, Prehistoric Nature Mod. In the wake of the Jurassic World disaster, a new generation of scientists and engineers emerged, determined to learn from the mistakes of the past and create a new era of responsible science. One of these scientists was named Dr. Anna Lee, a brilliant geneticist who had spent years studying the DNA of ancient species. Dr. Lee had always been fascinated by the idea of using technology to resurrect extinct creatures, but she was determined to do it in a way that was safe, ethical, and respectful of the natural world. To that end, she had spent years developing a revolutionary new mod for Minecraft, called the Prehistoric Nature Mod. This mod allowed players to explore a world filled with living, breathing prehistoric creatures, from the towering brachiosauruses of the Jurassic period to the fierce saber-toothed tigers of the Ice Age. But unlike Jurassic World, the Prehistoric Nature Mod was designed with strict safety protocols and ethical guidelines in place. The creatures in the mod were programmed to behave as they would in the wild, avoiding human contact and living in harmony with the natural environment. Players could observe these creatures up close, study their behavior, and even learn from them. And in doing so, they could gain a deeper understanding of the natural world and the intricate web of life that sustains it. One of the most popular features of the Prehistoric Nature Mod was a virtual reality simulation that allowed players to experience life as a dinosaur, seeing the world through their eyes and feeling the power of their massive bodies as they roamed through the ancient landscape. As word of the mod spread, it drew the attention of gamers and scientists alike, who marveled at the beauty and complexity of the prehistoric world that had been created. But as with all technology, there were those who sought to exploit it for their own gain. A group of hackers, known only as the Dark Coders, had infiltrated the mod systems, using their knowledge to gain access to the mod's most sensitive data. Dr. Lee knew that she had to act fast to stop them. She enlisted the help of a skilled hacker named Echt_Rob, who had a reputation for being the best in the business. Together, they worked to track down the Dark Coders and shut down their operations, but the hackers were always one step ahead. As the battle raged on, Dr. Lee began to realize that she needed more than just technical expertise to win. She needed allies, people who shared her vision of a world where science and technology were used to promote understanding and cooperation, rather than greed and exploitation. And so, she began to reach out to others, building a network of scientists, gamers, and activists who shared her passion for responsible science. As the struggle continued, Dr. Lee knew that the fate of the Prehistoric Nature Mod, and the world it represented, hung in the balance. But she was determined to fight to the end, knowing that the stakes were too high to back down. Chapter 3, The Hunt for the Dark Coders. Dr. Anna Lee and Echt_Rob had been working tirelessly to track down the Dark Coders and shut down their operations. Despite their best efforts, the hackers had proven to be elusive and cunning, always staying one step ahead. But Dr. Lee was not one to give up easily. She knew that the safety and integrity of the Prehistoric Nature Mod depended on stopping the Dark Coders, and she was willing to do whatever it took to achieve that goal. As she worked to gather intelligence on the hackers, she began to notice a pattern in their activities. They seemed to be focused on one particular area of the mod, a section that contained sensitive data on the genetic makeup of the prehistoric creatures. Dr. Lee realized that this data was likely the key to the Dark Coders' plans. If they could access it, they could potentially use it for their own nefarious purposes, such as cloning the creatures or creating new, more dangerous species. Determined to protect the mod and its inhabitants, Dr. Lee set out to fortify the security around this section of the mod. She recruited the help of a talented programmer named Magical Fruit Basket, who had a reputation for being a master of encryption and security protocols. Together, they worked to create a complex system of firewalls and encryption measures, designed to keep the Dark Coders out and protect the mod's sensitive data. But as they worked, they began to realize that the Dark Coders were not the only threat they faced. Other groups had also caught wind of the mod's existence and were eager to exploit it for their own purposes. One such group was a shadowy organization known only as the Black Market. This group specialized in the illegal trade of rare and exotic species, and they saw the prehistoric creatures in the mod as a potentially lucrative source of profit. Dr. Lee knew that she had to act fast to stop the Black Market and their allies. She reached out to a group of activists and gamers who shared her passion for responsible science and conservation, including Lemon, the Italian Palea girl, and B_Wither. Together, they launched a campaign to expose the Black Market's activities and put pressure on governments around the world to crack down on the illegal trade of endangered species. As the pressure mounted, the Black Market and their allies grew increasingly desperate. They knew that their profits were at risk, and they would stop at nothing to protect them. In a bold move, they launched a coordinated cyber attack on the prehistoric nature mod, attempting to bypass the security measures and gain access to the sensitive data. But Dr. Lee and her team were ready. With the help of Each_Rob and Orbweaver 9000, they launched a counterattack, infiltrating the Black Market's systems and shutting down their operations. As the dust settled, Dr. Lee breathed a sigh of relief. The mod was safe, for now. But she knew that the struggle was far from over. As long as there were those who sought to exploit the natural world for their own gain, she and her allies would have to remain vigilant, always ready to defend the sanctity of life and the wonders of nature. Chapter 4, Uncovering the Secrets of PU-238. With the threat of the Dark Coders and the Black Market temporarily neutralized, Dr. Anna Lee turned her attention to a new challenge, unlocking the secrets of PU-238. This mysterious character had been lurking around the edges of the mod for some time, always watching and observing but never revealing his true motives or intentions. Dr. Lee knew that she needed to find out more about this enigmatic figure. She began by digging through the mod's logs and chat records, searching for any clues or hints that might shed light on PU-238's identity. Her efforts were eventually rewarded when she stumbled upon a cryptic message that seemed to be addressed to PU-238 directly. The message contained a set of coordinates and a time, along with a warning to be ready for anything. Dr. Lee realized that this was an invitation of some kind, and she was determined to investigate. She rallied a group of her most trusted allies, including Magical Fruit Basket, Indiu, and JW, and set out on a mission to uncover the secrets of PU-238. The group traveled to the coordinates specified in the message, which led them to an abandoned research facility in the middle of the jungle. The facility had clearly been abandoned for some time, but there were signs that someone had recently been there. As they searched the facility, the group discovered a hidden room that contained a strange machine unlike anything they had ever seen before. The machine was emitting a strange, pulsating energy that seemed to be drawing in everything around it. Dr. Lee realized that this machine was the key to understanding PU-238 and his true intentions. She approached the machine cautiously, but before she could get too close, the energy field suddenly intensified, enveloping her and the rest of the group in a blinding white light. When the light dissipated, the group found themselves in a strange, otherworldly realm unlike anything they had ever seen before. The sky was a swirling mass of colors, and the ground was made of an iridescent, crystalline substance that shimmered in the light. As they explored this bizarre new world, they began to realize that it was somehow connected to the mod and the prehistoric creatures within it. They saw creatures that they had never seen before, some resembling ancient beasts from long ago, and others that seemed to be entirely new creations. As they delved deeper into this strange realm, they began to uncover the true nature of PU-238 and his motivations. He was a scientist from a parallel universe, one where prehistoric creatures had never gone extinct and had continued to evolve and adapt over millions of years. PU-238 had discovered a way to breach the barriers between his world and theirs, and he had come to the mod to learn more about the creatures that he had only read about in his own world's history books. As the group continued to explore the strange new world, they realized that there was much more to discover and explore. They knew that they had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary, and they were determined to unlock its secrets and share its wonders with the world. Chapter 5, The Battle for the New World. As Dr. Annalee and her team continued to explore the strange new world they had discovered, they soon realized that they were not alone. The Dark Coders, thought to have been defeated, had also found their way into this new realm. The Dark Coders had allied themselves with a group of fierce, prehistoric predators, led by a massive Tyrannosaurus rex. These predators had never encountered humans before, and they saw Dr. Lee's team as a threat to their new domain. A battle ensued, with Dr. Lee's team and their prehistoric allies fighting against the Dark Coders and their dinosaur allies. It was a brutal fight, with claws and teeth tearing through flesh and bone. Magical Fruit Basket used her powers to summon vines that wrapped around the legs of the dinosaurs, tripping them up and slowing them down. Indio called forth bolts of lightning that struck the Dark Coders, stunning them and allowing Dr. Lee and her team strike from behind. JW, armed with a powerful bow and arrow, took aim at the T-Rex and landed several well-placed shots, causing the massive beast to roar in pain and anger. B_Wither and used their powers to summon dark energy that engulfed the Dark Coders, causing them to falter and stumble. The Italian Palea girl used her agility and acrobatics to dodge the attacks of the predators, striking back with her sword when she saw an opening. Even Lemon, the unassuming farmer, proved to be a formidable fighter, using his knowledge of the terrain and the prehistoric creatures to outmaneuver his opponents and strike them down with his trusty hoe. The battle raged on for hours, but in the end, Dr. Lee's team emerged victorious. The Dark Coders and their dinosaur allies were defeated, and the prehistoric creatures of the New World were safe once more. As the dust settled, Dr. Lee realized that this new world held incredible potential for scientific discovery and exploration. She knew that there were countless mysteries to uncover and that she and her team would need to work together to unlock the secrets of this strange, prehistoric realm. With the battle won, the team set out to continue their exploration, eager to see what other wonders this new world held. But they knew that they would always have to be on guard, for there were always dangers lurking just beyond the next hill or around the next bend in the river. And they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with their knowledge, their skills, and their unshakable determination to uncover the truth. Chapter 6, The Mystery of the Toadmaster. Dr. Annalee and her team continued their exploration of the new world, following the winding river as it cut its way through the dense jungle. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of exotic birds and animals echoed through the trees. As they moved deeper into the jungle, they began to notice strange totem poles scattered throughout the undergrowth. Each totem was intricately carved with a different animal or plant, and they seemed to be arranged in a pattern that the team couldn't quite discern. It was then that they heard a faint rustling in the bushes. Lemon readied his hoe, and the Italian Palea girl drew her sword, but Dr. Lee held up a hand, motioning for them to stay calm. From the bushes stepped a figure draped in furs, wearing a headdress made of feathers and bone. It was the Toadmaster, a mysterious figure who was said to be able to communicate with the spirits of the land. The Toadmaster greeted the team and explained that the totems were a map of the land, marking out the boundaries of different territories and the locations of sacred sites. The team listened intently, fascinated by this glimpse into the culture of the prehistoric peoples who had once inhabited the New World. As they continued to speak with the Toadmaster, they began to notice that the jungle was growing even denser around them, as if some unseen force was manipulating the plants to close in on them. Realizing that they were in danger, the team quickly readied their weapons, but the Toadmaster motioned for them to stop. "You must not fight," he said, "for the land itself is angry. It senses your intrusion and seeks to expel you." The team looked at each other, unsure of what to do. But then Toadmaster raised his staff, and the plants around them began to recede. "Follow me," he said, "I know the way to appease the land." The team followed Toadmaster deeper into the jungle, moving through a narrow canyon that twisted and turned as it wound its way through the jungle. Finally, they emerged into a clearing, where a massive tree towered above them, its roots plunging deep into the earth. Toadmaster approached the tree and began to chant, his voice rising in a strange, otherworldly language. The team watched in awe as the tree began to glow with a soft, pulsing light, and the ground beneath them rumbled and shook. When the shaking subsided, they looked around and saw that the jungle had changed. The plants were no longer closing in around them, and the air seemed lighter, free of the oppressive weight that had hung over them before. "Thank you," Dr. Lee said to the Toadmaster, "you have saved us from a terrible fate." The Toadmaster simply nodded and disappeared back into the jungle, leaving the team to ponder the mystery of this strange and powerful figure. As they continued their exploration of the new world, they knew that they would need to stay on guard, for there were still many secrets waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 7, The Lost Temple. As the team traveled deeper into the jungle, they stumbled upon an ancient temple, its walls and columns covered in vines and moss. It was clear that the temple had been abandoned for centuries, but the team couldn't resist the urge to explore its secrets. As they made their way through the temple, they found carvings and paintings on the walls, depicting scenes of a lost civilization. There were images of fierce warriors and exotic animals, but also of peaceful farmers and fishermen. The deeper they went, the more they realized that this temple was not just a relic of the past, it was also a storehouse of knowledge. There were maps and diagrams of the stars, instructions for farming and irrigation, and even recipes for medicines and poisons. The team was awestruck by the knowledge contained within the temple, and they realized that they had stumbled upon a treasure trove of information. They spent several days studying the artifacts and translating the inscriptions, trying to piece together the story of the lost civilization. But their peaceful explorations were interrupted when they realized that they were not alone in the temple. They heard the sound of footsteps echoing through the corridors, and they knew that they had company. The team readied their weapons and prepared for a fight, but to their surprise, the newcomers were not hostile. They were a group of scholars and historians, also searching for knowledge about the lost civilization. The two groups joined forces, sharing their knowledge and working together to unlock the secrets of the temple. Together, they discovered that the lost civilization had been a thriving society, with complex social structures and advanced technology. But they also discovered that the civilization had fallen, destroyed by a catastrophic event that had wiped out their cities and left their people scattered and in disarray. The team and the scholars left the temple with a newfound respect for the lost civilization and a deeper understanding of their own place in the world. They realized that they were but a small part of a much larger story, and that there were still many secrets to uncover in the jungles of this new world. Chapter 8. As the sun began to set over the ancient ruins of the jungle temple, the group of adventurers huddled together in the fading light. Toadmaster had been leading the expedition, his expert knowledge of the area invaluable in navigating the treacherous terrain. But something was off. Lemon could feel it in her bones, a sense of unease that had been growing ever since they arrived at the temple. She looked around at her companions, trying to gauge their reactions, but they all seemed to be lost in their own thoughts. Suddenly, there was rustling in the bushes nearby. The group tensed, ready for danger, but it turned out to be just Indayu, the quiet and unassuming member of the team, emerging from the undergrowth. "Did you find anything?" asked Rob, the ever-curious adventurer. Indayu nodded silently, holding up a small, intricately carved statue. It was made of an unknown metal, its surface covered in strange symbols and glyphs. "That's it," exclaimed Toadmaster, his eyes widening in excitement. "That's what we've been searching for." He snatched the statue from Indayu's hands, examining it closely. Lemon watched him closely, a sense of suspicion growing in her mind. "Are you sure we should be taking that?" she asked tentatively. "It seems valuable." Toadmaster chuckled, his eyes glittering with greed. "Valuable? You have no idea. This little trinket will fetch a fortune on the black market." Lemon felt a sense of disgust rising in her throat. This was not the noble adventure she had signed up for, this was theft, pure and simple. But she felt powerless to stop it. Toadmaster was the leader of the expedition, and she was just a lowly member of the team. As they began their trek back to civilization, Lemon couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had been growing inside her. She knew that they were playing with fire, that the consequences of their actions could be disastrous. And she was right. As they emerged from the jungle, they were met by a group of armed men, their faces obscured by masks. The men demanded the statue, threatening violence if it wasn't handed over. Toadmaster hesitated for just a moment, but then his greed took over. He refused to give up the statue, and a fierce battle ensued. The adventurers fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. In the end, it was Lemon who made the sacrifice. She snatched the statue from Toadmaster's hands, throwing it as far as she could into the jungle. The armed men chased after it, leaving the adventurers alone. They emerged from the encounter battered and bruised, but alive. As they made their way back to civilization, Lemon couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in what she had done. She had stood up for what was right, even when it meant going against her own team. And as she looked up at the stars in the night sky, she knew that she would continue to fight for what was just, no matter what dangers lay ahead. Chapter 9. After the dangerous encounter with the armed men, the adventurers were left shaken and unsure of what to do next. Toadmaster was particularly rattled, as the loss of the valuable artifact had hit him hard. As they rested in a small village, trying to regroup and figure out their next move, they were approached by a wiry old man with a wild beard and a gleam in his eye. "You seek treasure, yes?" he asked, his voice low and gravelly. The adventurers exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to respond. But Rob, always eager for adventure, stepped forward. "We seek knowledge more than treasure," he said boldly. "We want to learn about the ancient cultures of this land." The old man nodded slowly, a knowing look in his eyes. "I can help you with that," he said. "But it will come at a cost." He led the adventurers deep into the jungle, to a hidden cave system that seemed to go on forever. They walked for what felt like hours, the old man leading the way with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. Finally, they arrived at a massive chamber, filled with ancient artifacts and treasures beyond imagining. Lemon's eyes widened as she took it all in, a sense of awe filling her chest. But her excitement was short-lived, as the old man turned to face them, a sinister smile on his face. "You see, I have a problem," he said, his voice dripping with malice. "I need a powerful artifact to unlock the secrets of this chamber, and you are going to help me get it." The adventurers were trapped, their only hope of escape a desperate plan hatched by Indiu. She had noticed a small crevice in the wall, just big enough for them to crawl through. It was a risky move, but they had no other choice. They waited until the old man was distracted, then made a run for the crevice. They crawled through it one by one, the darkness pressing in on them as they went. Finally, they emerged on the other side, panting and gasping for air. They had escaped, but at what cost? As they made their way back to the village, the adventurers were left with a sense of unease. They had uncovered something dark and sinister in the jungle, something that they might never be able to shake off. Chapter 10. As the adventurers plotted their escape from Indum's village, they stumbled upon a strange discovery. They found a hidden cave system that led deep beneath the earth, filled with strange, glowing crystals that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. As they explored the cave, they stumbled upon a long-forgotten temple, hidden deep within the earth. The temple was ancient, its walls covered in strange symbols and glyphs that the adventurers could not understand. But as they delved deeper into the temple, they found themselves confronted by a powerful and mysterious force. The air around them seemed to grow thick and heavy, and they could sense an immense power building in the air. Suddenly, a figure appeared before them, a being of pure energy, its form shifting and changing as it moved. The being identified itself as Vivexosaurus, a powerful and ancient force that had been guarding the temple for centuries. Vivexosaurus explained that the crystals in the cave were the source of his power, and that he had been charged with protecting them from those who would seek to use their power for evil. The adventurers were awestruck by the power of Vivexosaurus, and they could sense the immense energy radiating off of him. They knew that they had stumbled upon something truly incredible, and that they would need to tread carefully if they were to avoid attracting the attention of Indum and his warriors. As they made their way back to the surface, the adventurers knew that they had a new ally in their quest to stop the evil that was brewing in the region. With Vivexosaurus at their side, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 11. As the adventurers made their way back to the surface, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They knew that Indum and his warriors were still out there, searching for them, and they had no idea how they were going to stop them. But when they emerged from the cave, they were met with a sight that took their breath away. Vivexosaurus was waiting for them, and he had brought with him an army of creatures unlike any they had ever seen before. There were massive, towering beasts with horns and tusks, swift and nimble predators with razor-sharp claws, and sleek, intelligent creatures that seemed to be made of pure energy. Vivexosaurus explained that these creatures were his allies, and that they had come to help the adventurers in their quest. He explained that they had all been created using the power of the crystals, and that they were all under his command. The adventurers were amazed by what they saw, and they knew that they had an army that was unlike anything Indum had ever seen. With Vivexosaurus and his creatures at their side, they felt invincible. But as they prepared to march out to face Indum and his warriors, they couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the crystals held, and what other powers they could unleash. They knew that they were walking into a battle unlike any they had ever faced before, but they were ready to do whatever it took to protect the land they loved. Chapter 12. As the adventurers made their way back to the surface, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They knew that Indum and his warriors were still out there, searching for them, and they had no idea how they were going to stop them. But when they emerged from the cave, they were met with a sight that took their breath away. Vivexosaurus was waiting for them, and he had brought with him an army of creatures unlike any they had ever seen before. There were massive, towering beasts with horns and tusks, swift and nimble predators with razor-sharp claws, and sleek, intelligent creatures that seemed to be made of pure energy. Vivexosaurus explained that these creatures were his allies, and that they had come to help the adventurers in their quest. He explained that they had all been created using the power of the crystals, and that they were all under his command. The adventurers were amazed by what they saw, and they knew that they had an army that was unlike anything Indum had ever seen. With Vivexosaurus and his creatures at their side, they felt invincible. But as they prepared to march out to face Indum and his warriors, they couldn't help but wonder what other secrets the crystals held, and what other powers they could unleash. They knew that they were walking into a battle unlike any they had ever faced before, but they were ready to do whatever it took to protect the land they loved. Chapter 13. The adventurers, accompanied by Vivexosaurus and his creatures, marched across the land towards the stronghold of Indum and his warriors. As they drew closer, they could feel the tension mounting, and they knew that they were about to face their toughest challenge yet. As they approached the stronghold, they were met with a wall of guards, armed and ready for battle. But the adventurers were not deterred, and they charged forward, with Vivexosaurus and his creatures at the forefront of the charge. The battle was fierce, with swords clashing and creatures roaring. The adventurers fought with all their might, but the warriors of Indum were strong, and they seemed to have an endless supply of reinforcements. Just when it seemed like all was lost, a figure stepped out of the shadows. It was the evil Toadmaster, and he had brought with him a powerful magic that seemed to turn the tide of the battle. The adventurers were amazed at the power that evil Toadmaster wielded, but they couldn't help but feel uneasy. They knew that he had been their enemy in the past, and they couldn't trust him completely. But as the battle raged on, they began to see that evil Toadmaster was not their enemy after all. He fought with a fierce determination, and he seemed to care as much about the fate of the land as they did. With evil Toadmaster at their side, the adventurers were able to push back the warriors of Indum. They fought with renewed energy, and they were able to break through the stronghold's defenses and defeat Indum himself. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, the adventurers looked around at the battlefield. They had won, but the cost had been high. Many of their comrades had fallen, and the land had been left scarred and ravaged by the battle. But there was hope. With evil Toadmaster by their side, they knew that they could rebuild and heal the land. They knew that they could create a new era of peace and prosperity, and they set out to do just that. Chapter 14. The battle raged on, with the adventurers and their allies fighting for their lives against Indum and his army. As the battle wore on, it became clear that their opponents were not going to give up without a fight. Suddenly, there was a loud roar, and the ground shook beneath their feet. Everyone turned to see what was causing the commotion, and they saw a massive figure emerging from the forest. It was Indiu, the fearsome dragon, and she was accompanied by a group of loyal followers. Indiu let out another deafening roar, and the adventurers could feel their hearts pounding in their chests. But to their surprise, Indiu did not attack. Instead, she spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "I have come to offer my aid to you, adventurers. I have seen the strength and courage that you possess, and I believe that together, we can defeat Indum and his forces." The adventurers were shocked, but they knew that they needed all the help they could get. They accepted Indiu's offer, and together, they charged forward to face Indum and his army once more. With the combined might of Vivexosaurus, Rob, Lemon, the Italian Palea Girl, B_Wither, Magical Fruit Basket, PU-238, Orbweaver 9000, Valley Man Beans, JW, and now Indiu and her followers, the adventurers fought with renewed strength and determination. The battle was long and grueling, with both sides sustaining heavy losses. But in the end, it was the adventurers who emerged victorious. Indum and his army were defeated, and the land was finally at peace. As they celebrated their hard-won victory, the adventurers knew that they had formed a bond that could never be broken. They had faced incredible challenges together, but they had emerged stronger for it, and they knew that whatever the future held, they could face it together as a united force. Chapter 15. As the dust settled from the battle with Indum, the adventurers took stock of their surroundings. They were in a vast, open field, with the sun beating down on them from high above. Lemon was the first to break the silence. "Well, that was certainly something," she said, her voice trailing off. The Italian Palea Girl nodded in agreement. "I never thought we would be able to defeat such a powerful foe," she said. "But we did it together." Rob, who had been quiet throughout the battle, finally spoke up. "I must apologize," he said, his voice tinged with regret. "I fear that I may have led us into this conflict. I did not realize the true power that Indum possessed." The other adventurers quickly reassured Rob that he was not to blame. "We all chose to follow you into battle," said Vivexosaurus. "And we did so willingly. We knew the risks, and we were prepared to face them." Just then, they heard a rustling in the nearby bushes. PU-238, who had been on high alert since the battle, immediately sprang into action. He charged toward the bushes, his trusty pickaxe at the ready. But as he got closer, he realized that it was not an enemy lurking in the bushes, but a small creature, huddled in fear. The creature was unlike any they had seen before. It was covered in soft, brown fur, and its large, round eyes stared up at them with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Valley Man Beans was the first to approach the creature. "What is it?" he asked, his voice soft and gentle. The creature seemed to sense that he meant no harm, and it cautiously crawled out of the bushes. As it did, the adventurers realized that it was a baby chasmith. Chasmiths were a rare and elusive species, known for their incredible speed and agility. They were also known to be fiercely protective of their young. The adventurers exchanged worried glances. They knew that if they did not return the baby chasmith to its parents soon, they could be in danger. Indaiu, who had been keeping a watchful eye on the group, spoke up. "I can help you," she said. "I know these woods well, and I can guide you to the chasmith's nest." The adventurers were grateful for Indaiu's offer, and they set out at once, following her through the dense forest. As they traveled, they talked and laughed, reminiscing about their adventures together. For a moment, they forgot about the dangers that lay ahead and simply enjoyed each other's company. But as they drew closer to the chasmith's nest, their joy turned to apprehension. They knew that they were about to face one of the most dangerous creatures in the forest. Will the adventurers be able to reunite the baby chasmith with its parents? And what other dangers lie ahead for them in the forest? Find out in the next chapter of Prehistoric Nature Mod. Chapter 15. As the group continued on their journey, they encountered a new challenge, a deep, wide ravine blocking their path. They approached the edge of the ravine, peering down at the steep drop-off. "We're going to need a way to cross this," Lemon said, her eyes scanning the opposite side of the ravine. "We could try building a bridge," Rob suggested. "But we don't have enough materials for a bridge that long," Pu-238 pointed out. Toadmaster stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the other side of the ravine. "I have an idea," he said, pulling out his totem staff. "Everyone stand back." With a flick of his wrist, Toadmaster summoned a massive tree, its roots bursting from the ground and stretching across the ravine to the other side. "Wow, that's incredible," Indaiu said, marveling at the sight before them. The group cautiously made their way across the makeshift bridge, their hearts racing with each step. But with Toadmaster's powerful magic guiding them, they safely reached the other side. As they continued on their journey, evil Toadmaster's words lingered in the back of their minds, a constant reminder of the looming threat they faced. "We have to stay vigilant," B_Wither said, breaking the tense silence. "We don't know what else evil Toadmaster has in store for us." JW nodded in agreement. "We need to stay focused and be ready for whatever comes our way." With that, the group pressed on, their determination growing stronger with each passing moment. They didn't know what lay ahead, but they were ready to face it head-on, together. Chapter 16. As they continued their journey, the group stumbled upon a clearing in the dense forest. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone structure, its towering walls covered in vines and moss. "What is that?" Rob asked, his eyes fixed on the mysterious structure. "That's an ancient temple," Magical Fruit Basket said, her voice hushed with reverence. "I've heard stories about these from my travels." Without a word, the group made their way to the entrance of the temple. As they stepped inside, they were greeted by the musty scent of ancient stone and the soft glow of flickering torches. As they made their way deeper into the temple, they found themselves in a vast chamber, its walls covered in intricate carvings and symbols. "We have to be careful," Lemon said, her eyes scanning the room. "We don't know what kind of traps or guardians might be lurking in here." The group pressed on, their footsteps echoing through the chamber. Suddenly, they heard a faint humming sound coming from deeper within the temple. "What's that?" Indaiu asked, her eyes widening with curiosity. "I don't know, but we should be careful," Rob warned. As they approached the source of the humming sound, they found themselves face to face with a strange device, its surface covered in glowing runes. "This looks like some kind of ancient machine," Pu-238 said, his eyes fixed on the device. "We should be careful not to touch anything," Toadmaster warned. "We don't know what kind of power this thing holds." As they studied the device, they suddenly heard a loud rumbling sound coming from deep within the temple. "We need to go, now," B_Wither shouted, his voice ringing with urgency. The group turned to run, but as they made their way back through the chamber, they found their path blocked by a massive stone door, its surface covered in strange symbols. "We're trapped!" JW exclaimed, his eyes wide with fear. As the rumbling grew louder, the group frantically searched for a way out, but to no avail. With no other options, they braced themselves as the temple began to shake violently, its ancient walls crumbling around them. Chapter 17. As the temple crumbled around them, the group was thrown off their feet by the force of the earthquake. Dust and debris filled the air, making it difficult to see or breathe. "We have to get out of here," Indum yelled, her voice barely audible over the sound of the collapsing temple. With no other options, the group ran in the direction they had come, hoping to find a way out before the entire structure collapsed on top of them. As they stumbled through the rubble, they heard a loud, ominous creaking sound from above. They looked up just in time to see a massive boulder hurtling towards them. "Move!" Lemon shouted, pushing the others out of the way just in time to avoid the crushing weight of the boulder. As they continued to run, the group could hear the sounds of the temple collapsing behind them. Dust and debris continued to fill the air, making it difficult to see where they were going. Suddenly, they saw a glimmer of light up ahead. They ran towards it, hoping that it would lead them to safety. As they emerged from the rubble, they found themselves outside of the temple, surrounded by the lush greenery of the jungle. They collapsed to the ground, exhausted and covered in dust. "We made it," Rob said, gasping for breath. "But what was that machine?" Magical Fruit Basket asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know, but we're lucky to have made it out alive," Rob said, looking back at the crumbling temple. As they caught their breath, the group realized that they had stumbled upon something powerful and dangerous. But they also knew that their journey was far from over, and that they would have to face even greater dangers and challenges in the days ahead. Chapter 18. After resting for a few minutes, the group got up and started to make their way through the jungle. They walked in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had just experienced. As they walked, they heard a strange noise in the distance. It sounded like a low rumbling, getting louder with each passing moment. "What is that?" Valleyman Beans asked, looking around nervously. Suddenly, a massive creature burst through the trees, knocking them all to the ground. It was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it was angry. They scrambled to their feet and ran as fast as they could, but the T-Rex was gaining on them quickly. "We need to find a place to hide," Indio shouted. They ran towards a nearby cave, hoping that it would provide some cover. As they entered the cave, they could hear the T-Rex roaring outside. "That was close," Toadmaster said, catching his breath. But their relief was short-lived, as they realized that they were now trapped in the cave. They had no idea how to get out, and they could hear the T-Rex still lurking outside. "We need to find another way out of here," Lemon said, looking around the dark cave. As they searched for a way out, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Inside the chamber, they found a strange, glowing crystal. "What is this?" B_Wither asked, examining the crystal. "I don't know, but it's giving off a lot of energy," Orbweaver 9000 said. Just then, the T-Rex burst into the chamber, its massive jaws opening wide. They knew they had to act fast. Magical Fruit Basket grabbed the crystal and held it up to the T-Rex, hoping that it would have some kind of effect. Suddenly, the crystal emitted a blinding light, and the T-Rex disappeared in a flash. "What just happened?" JW asked, looking around in confusion. "I think that crystal had some kind of teleportation power," PU-238 said. With the T-Rex gone, the group was able to find their way out of the cave. As they emerged into the sunlight, they realized that they had stumbled upon something incredible and dangerous. But they also knew that they were now one step closer to uncovering the secrets of the prehistoric world, and they were more determined than ever to continue their journey. Chapter 19. As the group continued their journey through the lush jungle, they came across a clearing where they saw a magnificent sight, a herd of Triceratops grazing peacefully. Lemon was ecstatic and rushed towards the herd to get a closer look. She was so fascinated by the creatures that she didn't notice the rustling in the bushes nearby. Suddenly, a pack of velociraptors leapt out of the bushes, their sharp teeth and claws glinting in the sunlight. The group was caught off guard, but they knew they had to act fast. Indio and Orbweaver 9000 quickly drew their weapons and began to defend the group, while Magical Fruit Basket and JW tended to the injured. B_Wither used his dark magic to create a protective barrier around the group, but the velociraptors were relentless. Just as things were looking grim, Toadmaster appeared out of nowhere and let out a loud battle cry. His powerful magic sent shockwaves through the air, stunning the velociraptors and giving the group a chance to regroup. But then, a new threat emerged from the shadows. Evil Toadmaster had arrived, wielding dark magic and accompanied by a horde of undead creatures. The group braced themselves for a fierce battle, but Rob had a plan. He knew of a hidden cave system nearby that led to an underground river, and suggested they make a run for it. With Evil Toadmaster and his minions hot on their heels, the group raced towards the cave entrance. Lemon, who was still in awe of the Triceratops, stumbled and fell. As the creatures closed in on her, PU-238 quickly scooped her up and carried her to safety. Once they reached the underground river, the group used their skills and teamwork to navigate the treacherous waters and eventually emerged on the other side of the jungle. As they caught their breath, Rob explained that Evil Toadmaster was a dangerous and powerful sorcerer who had been banished from his realm for his dark deeds. They knew that they had to stop him before he could cause any more harm. With renewed determination, the group continued their quest, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 20. The sun had begun to set, casting a warm orange glow over the land. The group had finally reached the location of the temple, and they could see it in the distance. It was perched on top of a high mountain, shrouded in mist. As they drew closer, they could see that the temple was ancient and heavily guarded. There were guards stationed all around, armed with bows and arrows, and they were on high alert. Toadmaster led the way, his experience as a warrior coming in handy. He signaled for the others to follow, and they began their ascent up the mountain. The climb was treacherous, and they had to be careful not to slip on the rocky terrain. As they got closer to the temple, they saw that the guards were becoming more alert. They had spotted the group and were pointing their arrows in their direction. Toadmaster quickly signaled for everyone to take cover behind some rocks, and they waited for the right moment to make their move. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the air. Everyone looked up to see Indum charging towards the temple. The guards fired their arrows, but they bounced harmlessly off her thick skin. She reached the temple gates and smashed them open with her powerful jaws. The group took this as their cue to charge forward. They rushed towards the temple, taking down guards left and right. B_Wither let out blasts of energy, while Lemon used her agility to dodge arrows and strike with her sword. Magical Fruit Basket summoned vines from the ground to ensnare the guards, and the Italian Palea girl used her knowledge of ancient architecture to navigate the temple's maze-like corridors. They finally reached the inner sanctum of the temple, where they found the artifact they had been seeking. It was a small, glowing orb that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. As soon as they touched it, they felt a surge of power coursing through their bodies. But their victory was short-lived. Evil Toadmaster suddenly appeared, flanked by a group of shadowy figures. He snatched the artifact from their hands and cackled with delight. "You fools," he exclaimed. "Did you really think it would be that easy? You've just played right into my hands." With that, he disappeared, leaving the group alone in the temple. They knew that they would have to regroup and come up with a new plan if they had any hope of stopping Evil Toadmaster and his sinister plans. Chapter 21. As the sun began to set over the prehistoric landscape, the group of adventurers continued their journey through the dense jungle. They had been traveling for days, searching for a way to reach the mysterious temple that was said to hold ancient artifacts of great power. Toadmaster was leading the way, his keen sense of direction and vast knowledge of the jungle allowing the group to avoid many dangerous creatures and treacherous obstacles. The Italian Palea girl and Lemon were walking closely behind him, chatting about their previous adventures and sharing stories of their childhood. Each_Rob was walking at the back of the group, keeping a watchful eye out for any danger that may come from behind. His trusty pickaxe was in his hand, ready to be used as a weapon if needed. As they continued on, they stumbled upon a small clearing in the jungle. In the center of the clearing was a massive tree, towering over the surrounding vegetation. The trunk of the tree was covered in vines and moss, and strange symbols were etched into its bark. Magical Fruit Basket approached the tree, her curiosity getting the best of her. As she got closer, she noticed that the symbols were ancient runes, similar to those found in the temple they were searching for. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and a loud rumbling noise filled the air. The group looked around in confusion, trying to figure out what was happening. Then, out of nowhere, a massive dinosaur appeared from the trees. It was a Vivoxosaurus, a powerful and fearsome creature known for its incredible strength and speed. The group was caught off guard, and they quickly realized they were no match for the massive dinosaur. They began to run, trying to escape from its deadly jaws. Just when they thought all was lost, a familiar figure appeared on the horizon. It was Indum, a powerful warrior who had helped the group in the past. He charged towards the Vivoxosaurus, his sword flashing in the sunlight. The group watched in amazement as Indum battled the beast, his skill and courage allowing him to hold his own against the fearsome creature. In the end, Indum emerged victorious, and the Vivoxosaurus fell to the ground with a thunderous roar. The group rushed over to thank Indum, grateful for his timely arrival. As they continued on their journey, they knew that they would face many more challenges and dangers. But with each other and their new ally by their side, they felt more confident than ever before. Chapter 22. As the group made their way through the dense jungle, they could feel the oppressive heat bearing down on them. Even the normally stoic Each_Rob was sweating profusely. Indum, the newest member of their team, was having a particularly hard time adjusting to the harsh environment. "I don't know how much longer I can do this," Indum said, wiping the sweat from his brow. "You'll get used to it," Lemon said, trying to encourage him. "Just remember to stay hydrated." As they pushed deeper into the jungle, they came across a clearing with a large, ancient stone temple in the center. It was covered in vines and moss, and the entrance was sealed shut with a large stone door. "I have a bad feeling about this," Pu-238 said, eyeing the temple warily. "Me too," Toadmaster agreed. "But we've come too far to turn back now." The group cautiously approached the temple and began examining the door. It was covered in strange symbols and markings, unlike anything they had ever seen before. "We need to find a way to open this door," Rob said, running his fingers over the symbols. Suddenly, there was a loud rumbling noise, and the ground began to shake. A massive creature burst out of the trees and charged straight at them. "Vivexosaurus!" Rob yelled, pulling out his sword. The others quickly followed suit, and a fierce battle ensued. The Vivexosaurus was much larger and stronger than any dinosaur they had faced before, but with their combined efforts, they were eventually able to bring it down. Panting and covered in dirt, the group regrouped in front of the temple door. "Whatever is in there must be important," Magical Fruit Basket said, catching her breath. "We need to find a way to open it." They continued to examine the door, and finally, B_Wither noticed a small indentation in the shape of a keyhole. "I think I might have something that will fit," he said, pulling a small, ornate key out of his pocket. With a click, the door slowly began to open, revealing a dark, ominous interior. "We don't know what's in there," Lemon said, hesitating. "But we have to find out," Toadmaster said, leading the way inside. As they entered the temple, they could feel a strange energy pulsing through the air. The walls were lined with ancient artifacts and strange, glowing crystals. But in the center of the room stood a large pedestal, with a single, glowing crystal resting on top. "That's it," Rob said, striding towards the pedestal. "That's what we've been searching for." But as soon as he touched the crystal, a blinding light filled the room, and they were thrown back by a powerful shockwave. When they opened their eyes again, they found themselves in a completely different place. Chapter 23. As the group of survivors journeyed through the dense jungle, they stumbled upon a strange, ancient ruin hidden deep within the overgrowth. The structure appeared to be some sort of temple, adorned with intricate carvings and paintings depicting various creatures and deities. As they explored the ruins, they came across a small chamber that seemed to serve as a makeshift laboratory. The room was filled with various scientific instruments and equipment, and in the center stood a massive container filled with a strange, glowing liquid. Magical Fruit Basket, the group's resident scientist, examined the equipment and deduced that the liquid was a potent form of genetic material, capable of altering the DNA of any living organism it came into contact with. Just as they were about to leave the chamber, they heard a strange noise coming from behind one of the walls. They followed the sound and discovered a hidden chamber, where they found a lone figure standing in front of a computer terminal. The figure turned around, revealing itself to be none other than PU-238, the enigmatic character they had encountered previously. He explained that he had been using the genetic material to create a powerful new creature, one that would be capable of defeating the evil forces that had taken over the land. However, before he could finish his explanation, they were suddenly attacked by a group of mysterious soldiers, led by the fearsome evil Toadmaster. A battle broke out, with the survivors fighting fiercely to defend themselves and their new ally. Despite their best efforts, evil Toadmaster proved to be too powerful, and he managed to defeat the survivors one by one. But just as all hope seems lost, a powerful figure descends from the sky, wielding a massive hammer and radiating an intense aura of power. It was Indum, the legendary hero who had been the stuff of myths and legends for generations. With a single swing of his hammer, he decimated evil Toadmaster and his army, saving the survivors and ensuring that the genetic material would remain out of the hands of those who would use it for evil. As they gathered their strength and began to regroup, the survivors knew that their journey was far from over. But with the aid of new allies and powerful tools, they were more determined than ever to reclaim their land and restore balance to the world. Chapter 24. As the sun began to rise over the dense jungle canopy, the group of survivors continued their trek through the thick foliage. They had been traveling for days now, constantly on the move to avoid the dangerous creatures that roamed the land. They were tired, hungry, and on edge, but they knew that they had to keep moving if they were going to make it to safety. Rob led the way, his sharp senses constantly scanning the area for any signs of danger. Vivexosaurus followed closely behind, her massive size and strength providing protection for the rest of the group. Lemon and the Italian Palea girl walked alongside each other, deep in conversation about their past adventures. Suddenly, B_Wither let out a loud scream, causing everyone to freeze in their tracks. They turned to see him thrashing around on the ground, his body covered in red welts. It was clear that he had been bitten by some sort of poisonous creature. Magical Fruit Basket quickly rushed to B_Wither's side, pulling out a small vial of green liquid from her bag. She poured it into his mouth, and within moments, the welts began to disappear and his breathing evened out. "Thank you," B_Wither gasped, his face pale with shock. That was too close. The group continued on, but the incident had shaken them all. They knew that they were in a dangerous place, and that one misstep could mean the difference between life and death. As they walked, they began to notice signs of civilization. Small huts and campsites dotted the landscape, and they could hear the distant sounds of people talking and animals being corralled. "We're getting close," Lemon said, a note of excitement in her voice. But as they rounded a bend in the path, they suddenly found themselves face to face with a group of armed men. The men were heavily armed and looked as though they were ready for a fight. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" one of them demanded. Rob stepped forward, his eyes scanning the group. "We're just travelers, looking for a safe place to rest. We mean no harm." The men exchanged a look, and for a moment, it seemed as though they might attack. But then, one of them stepped forward. "I'm the leader of this group," he said. "My name is Indayu. We've been fighting for our survival in this place for a long time. But if you're truly peaceful, we'll welcome you." With that, the group of survivors was led into the camp, where they finally found the safety and shelter they had been searching for. But they all knew that the dangers of the prehistoric world were never far away, and that they would have to remain vigilant if they wanted to survive. Chapter 25. As the sun began to rise over the island, the group of survivors gathered around the fire pit, enjoying a breakfast of fresh fruit and roasted meat. Toadmaster sat quietly, lost in thought, while the others chatted and laughed around him. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the jungle. Everyone jumped up, ready for action. Lemon, Rob, B_Wither, and PU-238 quickly grabbed their weapons, while Magical Fruit Basket and Indayu prepared to cast their spells. As they cautiously made their way through the dense foliage, the roar grew louder and more menacing. Soon, they came upon a clearing and saw the source of the noise, a massive T-Rex, thrashing about in a frenzy. Indam, the newest member of the group, stepped forward. "Let me handle this," she said confidently. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned a bolt of lightning that struck the dinosaur directly in the chest. The T-Rex let out a deafening scream and collapsed to the ground. The group let out a collective cheer, and Indam grinned triumphantly. But their celebration was short-lived. From the other side of the clearing, they heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching. Evil Toadmaster emerged from the trees, a wicked grin on his face. "So glad you could join us," he sneered. "I've been looking for you all." The group braced themselves for a fight, but Evil Toadmaster just stood there, smirking. "I don't want to fight you," he said. "I want to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" Lemon asked suspiciously. "I have information that could be very valuable to you," Evil Toadmaster said. "But I'll only share it if you help me with something first." The group exchanged wary glances, but they knew they didn't have much of a choice. They nodded their agreement, and the Evil Toadmaster led them deeper into the jungle. As they walked, he explained his plan. "There's a powerful artifact hidden somewhere on this island," he said. "I've been searching for it for years, but I haven't been able to find it on my own. I need your help." "What kind of artifact?" Rob asked. "It's a crystal," Evil Toadmaster said. "But not just any crystal. This one has the power to control the elements themselves. With it, I could become the most powerful being in the world." The group hesitated. They didn't like the idea of helping Evil Toadmaster achieve ultimate power. But they also knew that if they could get their hands on the crystal first, they could use it to stop him. They agreed to help him, but only on one condition: they got to keep the crystal once they found it. Evil Toadmaster laughed. "You think you can outsmart me? We'll see about that." With that, they continued on their journey, knowing that danger lurked around every corner. But with the fate of the island at stake, they had no choice but to press on. Chapter 26. After days of searching for a way out of the dark cave system, the group finally stumbled upon a hidden chamber filled with ancient artifacts and treasures. They cautiously entered, wary of any potential dangers that might lurk within. As they explored the chamber, they found a strange, glowing crystal that seemed to pulse with a faint energy. Rob examined it closely and realized that it was a rare mineral known as vivaxite, which was said to have potent magical properties. Excited by their discovery, the group began to collect as much of the vivaxite as they could carry. But as they were about to leave, a deep rumbling shook the cavern walls, and a horde of hostile creatures burst into the chamber. The group was caught off guard, but they quickly rallied together and prepared to fight for their lives. Toadmaster summoned his totems to aid in the battle, while Lemon unleashed a flurry of explosive attacks. Magical Fruit Basket and Indayu worked together to create powerful illusions, confusing the creatures and giving the others an opening to strike. B_Wither and used their dark powers to weaken the enemies, making them easier to defeat. Rob fired off rounds from his trusty shotgun, taking down several of the creatures with deadly precision. JW called upon the power of the orb weaver to trap the enemies and prevent them from moving. The battle raged on for what felt like hours, but the group eventually emerged victorious. They were battered and bruised, but they had successfully defended themselves and their newfound treasure. As they gathered their belongings and prepared to leave the chamber, Evil Toadmaster suddenly appeared before them. He had been tracking their movements and was determined to take the Vivac side for himself. The group braced themselves for another fight, but Evil Toadmaster surprised them by offering a truce. He proposed that they work together and use the Vivac side to achieve great power and wealth. Despite their suspicions, the group agreed to the alliance, knowing that they would need all the help they could get in their quest to survive and thrive in this dangerous world. With the Vivac side in their possession, they set out once again, uncertain of what new adventures and challenges awaited them. Chapter 27. As the group of survivors continued their journey through the prehistoric landscape, they stumbled upon a lush forest filled with ancient trees and dense vegetation. It was a stark contrast to the barren deserts and rocky cliffs they had been traversing. As they entered the forest, they noticed that the air was thick with the scent of flowers and the chirping of birds. The group marveled at the sight before them, taking in the beauty of the ancient trees and the vibrant colors of the plants. As they made their way deeper into the forest, they suddenly heard a rustling in the bushes. A small creature darted out from the foliage, surprising the group. It was a brightly colored bird, unlike any they had seen before. As they followed the bird's path, they stumbled upon a clearing in the forest, where they saw a creature unlike any they had ever encountered. It was a massive sauropod, grazing on the leaves of the tall trees. The group watched in awe as the creature towered over them, its long neck and tail swaying in the gentle breeze. Suddenly, a roar shook the ground beneath their feet. The group looked up to see a massive T-Rex charging towards them. Everyone scattered, trying to find cover as the dinosaur thundered towards them. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, the T-Rex was tackled to the ground by a smaller predator. It was Indum, the ferocious carnivore who had been following the group. With the T-Rex distracted, the survivors were able to make a narrow escape. As they fled the forest, they knew that the prehistoric landscape was full of danger and wonder. They had survived this encounter, but who knew what other creatures lay ahead on their journey. Chapter 28. In the aftermath of the battle with the evil Toadmaster and his minions, the group of adventurers returned to their village to rest and recover. They had suffered heavy losses, but the victory had been worth the cost. The villagers welcomed them back as heroes and treated their wounds. As they rested, they discussed their next move. They knew they had to keep searching for the missing pieces of the time crystal, but they had no idea where to look. Just as they were about to give up hope, they heard a rumor of a powerful artifact hidden deep in the jungle. They set out early the next morning, determined to find this artifact and discover its secrets. The journey was long and treacherous, and they had to fight their way through thick underbrush and dangerous predators. But eventually, they found themselves standing at the entrance of a massive underground cavern. The cavern was filled with strange and exotic creatures, some of which they had never seen before. They cautiously made their way deeper into the cave, following the faint glow of the artifact they were seeking. After what seemed like hours of walking, they finally reached the heart of the cavern. There, they found a massive crystal embedded in the rock, emitting a powerful energy that seemed to pulse through the air. They cautiously approached the crystal, but as they drew closer, they felt a sudden surge of power that knocked them off their feet. When they regained their senses, they found themselves in a strange new world, surrounded by creatures that were even more exotic than those they had encountered before. They had been transported to a new time, and they knew that they would have to adapt quickly if they wanted to survive. But they were adventurers, and the thrill of the unknown was what drove them. So they set out into this new world, eager to explore and discover its secrets. Chapter 29. As the sun rose over the jungle, Lemon emerged from her makeshift shelter made of large leaves and vines. She stretched her arms and legs, feeling the stiffness from sleeping on the hard ground. She grabbed her trusty spear and began to make her way through the dense foliage, looking for something to eat. As she wandered through the jungle, she heard a rustling in the bushes. She tensed, ready to defend herself, but then a familiar voice called out. "Lemon! Over here!" It was Indayu, waving at her from a small clearing. Lemon relaxed and made her way over to Indayu, who was sitting on a large rock, fiddling with a small device. "What have you got there?" asked Lemon, peering over Indayu's shoulder. "It's a new gadget I've been working on," replied Indayu, holding up the small device. "It's a tracking device that can detect the presence of nearby creatures, including prehistoric ones." Lemon was impressed. "That could be really useful. Have you tested it out yet?" "Not yet," said Indayu, looking up at Lemon. "I was hoping you would come with me to test it out. We could use some of the meat for dinner tonight." Lemon grinned. "Sounds like a plan. Lead the way." Indayu activated the device and they began to follow the signal deeper into the jungle. The device beeped faster and faster as they got closer to their target. Finally, they found themselves in a small clearing where a herd of ankylosauruses were grazing. Lemon and Indayu crept closer, trying not to startle the massive creatures. Indayu readied her tranquilizer gun while Lemon prepared to throw her spear. Suddenly, there was a loud crash as a massive T-Rex burst through the trees, roaring and snapping its jaws. The ankylosauruses scattered in all directions, and Lemon and Indayu found themselves face to face with the massive predator. Lemon readied her spear, but she knew it was useless against such a massive foe. Indayu took aim with her tranquilizer gun, but the T-Rex was too quick. It lunged forward, its jaws gaping wide. Just when all seemed lost, a figure appeared out of nowhere. It was Toadmaster, wielding a massive stone axe. With a fierce battle cry, he charged the T-Rex, striking it on the head and causing it to stumble. Lemon and Indayu took the opportunity to make a run for it. They scrambled through the jungle, heart pounding as they heard the T-Rex roar behind them. Finally, they stumbled out of the trees and collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath. Toadmaster emerged from the trees a moment later, his axe stained with T-Rex blood. He grinned at Lemon and Indayu. "Are you two okay?" Lemon and Indayu nodded, still too shaken to speak. Toadmaster helped them to their feet. "Come on. Let's get out of here before any more predators show up." As they made their way back to their camp, Lemon and Indayu couldn't help but feel grateful to have Toadmaster on their side. They knew that without his quick thinking and bravery, they might not have made it out of the jungle alive. Chapter 30. As the group traveled further through the jungle, they encountered more and more dangerous creatures. They had to be constantly on the lookout for any sign of danger, but they also knew that they were getting closer to their goal. One day, while they were resting by a stream, they heard a loud roar in the distance. They immediately knew that it was a dinosaur, but they couldn't tell which one it was. They quickly gathered their things and prepared for the worst. As they moved towards the source of the noise, they saw a massive dinosaur ahead of them. It was a T-Rex, and it was walking towards them. The group quickly realized that they were in deep trouble. Just as they thought their time had run out, a group of velociraptors appeared out of nowhere and began to attack the T-Rex. The group saw this as their chance to escape and they quickly took it. They ran through the jungle as fast as they could, but they could hear the sounds of the battle behind them. They knew that they had to keep moving, and they didn't stop until they had reached a safe distance. After catching their breath, they discussed what had just happened. They couldn't believe that they had been saved by a group of velociraptors. They also realized that they were getting close to their goal. The group continued on, more determined than ever to find the ancient ruins. They encountered more dangerous creatures along the way, but they were able to overcome them all. Finally, after weeks of traveling through the jungle, they saw it. The ancient ruins were right in front of them. They were overgrown and partially destroyed, but they could still see the beauty and grandeur that once existed there. The group stepped into the ruins, and they were filled with awe. They had finally made it to their destination, and they knew that they had a lot of exploring to do. Chapter 31. As the group ventured deeper into the cave system, the air grew colder and the light from their torches became dimmer. Toadmaster led the way, his totemic powers allowing him to sense the best path forward. Suddenly, the group heard a faint growling noise echoing off the cave walls. They paused and listened, trying to determine the source of the sound. "That doesn't sound good," said Lemon nervously. Indayu unsheathed her sword, ready for whatever lay ahead. "We need to be cautious," she warned. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a pack of ravenous velociraptors, their sharp teeth and claws gleaming in the dim light. "Back up slowly," instructed each_Rob, his eyes locked on the predators. "We don't want to make any sudden movements." But the raptors were too quick. They lunged forward, snapping their jaws and slashing with their claws. B_Wither retaliated with blasts of dark energy, while Magical Fruit Basket used her powers to create a shield of fruit around the group. Toadmaster called upon his totems, channeling their power to summon a herd of Triceratops to their aid. The massive herbivores charged into the fray, using their horns to batter the raptors and their massive size to shield the group. After a fierce battle, the raptors lay defeated and the group emerged victorious. But they knew that they couldn't let their guard down in this dangerous and unpredictable world of prehistoric creatures. They pressed on deeper into the cave system, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 32, the end of Part 1. As the sun began to set on the prehistoric world, the group of survivors gathered around a campfire, reflecting on their journey so far. They had faced many challenges, from dangerous predators to treacherous terrain, but they had persevered. Toadmaster spoke up, breaking the silence. "We've come a long way, but we still have a lot of work to do. There are still mysteries to uncover, and dangers to face. Rob nodded in agreement. But we're stronger now. We've learned to work together and trust each other. And we have new allies to help us on our journey. Lemon, the Italian paleo girl, B_with her, Magical Fruit Basket, Indiu, PU238, Orbweaver 9000, Valley Man Beans, JW, Evil Toadmaster, Vivexosaurus, and each_Rob all nodded in agreement. We'll continue our journey tomorrow, Toadmaster said. But for now, let's rest and enjoy this moment of peace. And so, they settled down for the night, grateful for the bonds they had formed and the progress they had made. But little did they know, even greater challenges lay ahead in the next part of their journey. Chapter 33, The Final Battle. The valley was filled with chaos as the ground shook and the skies rumbled with thunder. The evil Toadmaster had summoned an army of creatures from the prehistoric era to fight against the combined forces of the heroes and the dinosaurs. Vivexosaurus and each_Rob led the charge, their fierce roars echoing throughout the valley. The Italian paleo girl rode on the back of Indiu, charging forward with her spear at the ready. Lemon and Magical Fruit Basket flew through the air, dodging the attacks of the flying pterosaurs. B_with her and stood side by side, firing their arrows at the enemy. PU238 unleashed a powerful blast of radiation, decimating the creatures in its path. Orbweaver 9000 spun a web, trapping the smaller enemies. JW and Rob fought valiantly, taking down the larger beasts with their swords. Evil Toadmaster stood at the center of it all, casting spells and commanding his minions to attack. It was a fierce battle, with both sides suffering losses. But in the end, the heroes emerged victorious. Evil Toadmaster was defeated, and his army of prehistoric creatures was vanquished. The valley fell silent, except for the sounds of the heroes and dinosaurs celebrating their hard-won victory. They had saved the land from destruction, and restored peace to the prehistoric world. As they made their way back to their respective homes, the heroes knew that they would never forget their adventure in the prehistoric nature mod. They had formed an unbreakable bond, forged through battle and bravery. And so, the story of the prehistoric nature mod came to an end, leaving behind a legacy of courage, friendship, and the wonder of a world long past.